Hey everybody, we're here in Las Vegas at the NAB Show convention. This is all about broadcasting, so we're here for a couple of reasons. One is to go around and interview lots of interesting camera people and visual effects people, which we'll be putting up in videos. And the other reason is we're doing some networking with various businesses with regards to future HitFilm development, but of course we can't actually talk to you about any of that yet, but there's lots of exciting stuff coming up. Okay, so let's go and take a look at what's at the show.
So we're here at NAB, and the big news is Blackmagic and their cinema camera. I just had a look at it, and I think it's amazing. I think it's going to be really good for HitFilm users and for me, because the compositing is going to be better with that much color information. The grading is going to be better. It's got really great resolution as well. So I think it's going to be massive over the next year.
Blackmagic Design, I think a lot of people know us for our ingest products, our capture tools, and also know us for DaVinci Resolve, the color grading tools. And we noticed that a lot of our customers were using camera technologies that allowed them to record high quality content, but not quite good enough to achieve the visions that they were looking to do with the material. And they're pushing the material beyond the boundaries of really what the cameras were designed to deliver, especially with the compression technologies and the contrast ranges that those cameras had. So we felt that there was a strong need from our customers to have a camera technology that allowed them to deliver cinematic looking images, but an affordable price point. So we thought, well, why don't we do something about it?
And these guys are mostly post-production hardware guys, so they kind of have a little bit of that pedigree. It's a weird-looking camera. It's like a box. It's like a square box. And you're sitting there, and you're like, I don't know how I'm supposed to hold this.
First thing was that it had to have a high-resolution sensor, and the majority of our customers were working on high definition or on 2K deliverable content. So we wanted a sensor that was going to be slightly above that, so it looks beautiful and anti-aliased when you scale it back down to 2K or HD. So this has a 2.5K sensor. The other key feature that makes it different to a lot of the many cameras that are on the market today, especially the video cameras, is its dynamic range. So the sensor will allow us to record 13 stops of dynamic range. So that gives us an enormous space in which to pull detail from both highlights and shadows once we take it into something like DaVinci Resolve and go through that color grading process. And a lot of the cameras in the market haven't been designed with post-production in mind, especially when recording to things like H.264 encoding or long GOP compression. So we knew it had to have open standard formats when it records the video content. So this will record at 2.5K Cinema DNG files, which are an open standard from Adobe. It will record 12-bit log Cinema DNG. It will also record a high definition as ProRes and DNX HD. So I know that once I take my material from the camera, I can go straight into my NLE. There's not going to be any transcoding throughout my entire process. So I can treat the files natively and maintain that quality and the detail in the image without having to do any destructive editing. We really didn't have a particular user or customer in mind. We realized that there was a lot of interest from the small independent film production business and customers, but also music videos for corporate video production, for advertising, for TVCs. I think there's going to be a wide range of applications now where we see people starting to use this, not because it's a particularly low-cost camera, but because of that dynamic range, because of the detail that's available in the image. I think anybody looking to acquire high-quality content but an affordable price is really going to take this camera seriously.
It's really cool, but the thing is that it's like shoots 30 frames per second max. Because having variable frame rates is something that's super important. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're making an action movie or just a very, I don't know, any visually complex piece requires
at least 48 frames per second.
Yeah, at least 48 frames per second, because it's such like a good technique for like holding moments and showing things if you can just slow time down a little bit and so.
Well, to be honest, we wanted to launch the camera with a standard set of frame rates that was suitable for the majority of applications. And from a small independent film production, shooting at 23.98 or 24, 25 frame for Europe is going to be very important. The camera has capabilities of doing a lot more, but I think we need to make sure we get the camera out and something that's available to users right now, and then we'll see how the response is like and what the camera is capable of doing.
But it's an awesome camera. It puts out the best quality for bang for its buck.
It looks really good.
I think really I think people were really blindsided and surprised by it, but it's the nice thing is it's something that, kind of knowing the tech behind it, it was something that's been kind of a long time coming.
Yeah.
And I think it's really what we're going to see as a change in the world of cameras is that there's no longer going to be the 5-year, the 3 or 4 year dominance of the HVX, the camera to go to, and then the 3 years of the 5D, and then this, it's like it's going to start turning over really quickly, and people are going to have to get used to their cameras getting out of date within a year, just like you're used to their computers getting out of date.
Well, also you're getting to a point too where it's like you're getting to a good enough world too, where you get a camera that's like you can do the 2K, it's like 2.5K, it's like Super 16 sensor size, but that's a good sensor size. A lot of good stuff has been shot on that sensor size.
Yeah, it's going to start to be where there's a new, better camera every year, but you don't need to upgrade every year because it's going to be just a small iteration on top of it. But they're just going to keep going.
It's definitely a cool camera, especially the price point. You can't argue with that price point.
The lens mount is compatible with EF and ZF lenses, so that's Canon EF and Zeiss ZF lenses. On the side of the camera, if I twist this around for you, we have an SSD port. Now this is a standard SSD disk. They're available from most consumer IT shops. The SSD disk plugs straight into the camera, and onto that you can record your Cinema DNG, your ProRes or your DNX HD files. So that's quite simple and straightforward. Of course it's a standard disk, so you can plug it into any computer workstation and read the files directly off of the SSD. Underneath here we have a Thunderbolt connection. Now the Thunderbolt connection is quite unique on a camera. This is the first camera that's come out with a Thunderbolt port. And the Thunderbolt here allows us to connect the camera directly to a computer, so I can record the material directly over Thunderbolt to my workstation. In addition, the camera has ultrascope built in. So if I connect the Thunderbolt connection to a computer and run the ultrascope software on the computer, I can have a look at my scopes, I can look at my RGB parade, my histogram, look at my audio, and then I can make sure I'm not clipping any of my colours and my blacks and my highlights. So that's all included in the camera. And of course underneath, we have power. So the camera has a 2-hour battery built in. It's a rechargeable 2-hour battery. Should you be in a location perhaps where you need to have external power, this is a 12 to 30 volt power supply. So it means that you can plug in an external battery, most compatible with most battery formats with that voltage. So here you can see the main controls for the camera. The first thing is that you can see here is what we call the slate. So the slate allows us to input all our metadata for the camera, including real scene, shot, take, and angle shots. Also, it has information to put metadata for keywords and comments. Now, if I click on one of those to give you an example, it opens up a smartphone-style keyboard. On the top of the metadata, I have a little star button, which I can click, and that will then flag that clip. So when I take my material into my NLE, I can identify my good takes and take all my flagged clips, and I can drop those straight into my timeline. So I've very quickly identified the takes that I want to use for each of the scenes that I'm shooting. In the menu, I have all of my camera controls. So here you can see basic camera controls, information about the way the camera is operating, the ID, the date and time. I've got my ASA ratings. The camera is natively rated at 800 ASA, although it also has the option of 400 or 1600 ASA. I have my white balance control and also my shutter angle for my rolling shutter. I have my audio input controls. I have my record controls. In the record controls I have my recording formats, my dynamic range controls, whether I'm shooting video or film, so that's going to be log or Rec 709. I have my frame rate controls, and it will shoot 2398, 24, 25, 2997 and 30 frame. And of course my SDI output here, whether it's going to be HD or whether it's going to be 2K. So the plan is to have the camera shipping by the end of July. And the price of the camera will be $3,000 or £1,925.
The Blackmagic design camera is everything every indie filmmaker could want, and it's cool that it's made by Blackmagic, because they're like, we got this great color grading application out, and it's free, and people can use it. And everybody's using it on 8-bit footage, which does not give you a ton of flexibility. So let's just make a raw camera. Let's make a raw camera that lets you do everything you want in color grading.
And they make all those capture cards too, so it's probably pretty easy for them to go like, oh yeah, 10-bit or 10-bit raw, whatever, easy.
The way I think it was phrased best, but I can't remember who it was. I was at NAB, and someone said, every single person who was considering yesterday entering into the DSLR filmmaking world is now considering the Blackmagic, which is a major step in so overnight to basically change people's thoughts on what's the best camera at that price point.
Yeah, exactly.